Good afternoon, Rotarians. I'm Charles McClymans. I am the President-elect nominee, filling in for President Teresa today, who's at the Rotary International Conference in Houston, Texas. And I'd like to thank our sponsor of the week, Ron Luskin. Where's Ron? Thank you for sponsoring our meeting, Ron, for your support of today's luncheon. And our opening music today will be a patriotic song. Dick Lovell will sing God Bless America with Casey Elkers at the keyboard. And following that, our musical guest will be introduced by Susie Drazen.
God bless America. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Susie.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Susie Drazen, a relatively new member of Rotary, and it's my honor today to welcome our guests. Please stand at your place, and we'll welcome them all after I've introduced everybody. Angela Banks, guest of the Program Committee. Brandon Piper, guest of the Program Committee. Prudence Yaconia, guest of Aurelia Estrada. Mark Soderberg, guest of Rob Vandenberg. April Kigea, guest of Anthony Gray. Jara Rios Rodriguez, guest of Ron Luskin. Kelly Lecker, guest of Ron Luskin. And Emma Seward, guest of the club. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you, Susie. I'd like to give a special shout-out today to Kelly Lecker, who is the new executive editor of the Wisconsin State Journal. Kelly, thank you for being here, and thank you for joining us for lunch today. As I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, President Teresa has been at the Rotary International Conference in Houston, Texas, USA this year. And there are several people from our club down there with her, but she has recorded a special message for us, and you'll get a glimpse of what it's like to go to an international convention. I'm planning to go next year to Melbourne, Australia, so it's a little bit farther. So, Jane, if you could cue up the video.
Hello from
Houston!
And I just met Dave McCleary, who is our Rotary Action Group Against Slavery chair. It's definitely, we thank you, Doing great things together. Locally, that's right, locally, regionally, and then across the world.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right, I am now in the House of Friendship with our very own Karen and Larry, or Karen Kendrick and Larry Hands, and we are movers, and I just took a picture with our own president, Shekar. So we're movers and Shekar.
Well, hello, downtown Rotary. Tonight, we are at the district conference meeting and social gathering for District 6250. So we've got several district people here. Our district governor-elect Ben Bauer, our district governor, Karen Hebert, and several district Rotarians, including our honorary member, Dora Zuniga, who's now in the Tampa Club.
Dora, good to see you.
Good to be seen. I miss my Rotary friends from Madison. Miss you guys so much.
All right, so that gives you a little glimpse of what goes on at a Rotary International Convention. So if any of you want to go with me next year to Melbourne, let me know, okay? Should be fun. I think Teresa was definitely having a lot of fun, and thanks to Jason Barron for recording and sending that video. Next up, we have Don Crim, president of our Rotary Foundation, is going to come up and make some special introductions and announcements. Secretary Crim.
So I'm Dawn Crim, and I'm not only your speaker today, I also serve as the president for the Madison Rotary Foundation this year. Each year, our Madison Rotary Foundation provides grants for the proceeds of our annual community grants campaign, as well as the income from our invested funds. Our foundation currently has assets over $15 million. This year, yes, clap for that. This year, our 15-member Community Grants Committee reviewed 74 applications that totaled $758,000. We awarded grants to 41 organizations, with the grants totaling $218,000, $218,600. In our audience today, we have guests from the 41 recipient agencies that I invite each representative to stand at this time. I will refer you to the listing at your tables so you can see the organizations that have benefited from funding by our Madison Rotary Foundation this year. Because of your generosity, the gifts to the Madison Rotary Foundation during our annual campaign, we are helping these 41 organizations reach people in need in Madison. In addition, over $23,000 was approved for our international project to help curb human trafficking in Uganda. Finally, I want to thank all of our members who provided support to our foundation during our community grants campaign. It's been because of you that we can make these meaningful gifts to the organizations represented today. Thank you. I'll turn the microphone back over to Charles.
Thank you, Dawn. And that's a great segue to think about why we're all members here and about the importance of coming to lunch. So, Jane, you've got a couple of slides there, right? I just want to start by thanking everyone who, throughout the past year, we're coming to the end of our Rotary year on June 30th, throughout the past year for inviting people to lunch. So if you look at the first slide, these are all of the folks who have invited people to lunch, and I'd like to thank them. You're going to notice something interesting on the second slide, Jane, if you go to the next one. And all of the members who have sponsored new members. And if you switch back, could you switch back to the other slide? Then go back to the new member slide. What do you notice about there? That inviting people to lunch works. Yeah, it does. And, how many of you were here last week for the scholarship luncheon? Raise your hand. And today, community grants, right? So you heard Dawn, we're giving out almost $220,000 in community grants, over $350,000 in scholarships each year. That's just this past year over $750,000 in philanthropic support that goes to our community. I can tell you, being here for the scholarship lunch and seeing the new scholars and their mentors, meeting the community grant recipients today and all of the great work that you do in the community. And then there's the relationships and friendships that we all develop. I know that I've been a Rotarian now for 14 years, and some of my closest friends today are Rotarians. You really get to know people and spend time with them. So sharing the joy of Rotary and all of the strengths of Rotary is something that we each have the ability to do each and every week. And it's as simple as inviting those people who may be interested in sharing what we share here, inviting them to lunch. That's the first step. Kelly, no pressure, but that is the first step. Come to lunch and see what this is all about. So just a reminder that continuing to recruit new members, we're on track to bring in 49 new members this year, but we lost 47 members. And so we want to continue to increase our membership, of course, but continuing to share that message of joy that we have as Rotarians is something we can all do. Great, thank you. Now we will move on to birthdays. And we have birthdays to celebrate with a bit of humor or wisdom that complements Rotary's mission. And we also encourage members to make an age-appropriate gift to the Madison Rotary Foundation, rounded up to 100 for our club's Synergy Scholarship Fund. So we have on June 5th, Lester Pines, who shares, "We're living in an age of alternative facts and big lies. As Rotarians, we must always ask of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? If a lie is being spread, we must respond with the truth, because doing so will be beneficial for all concerned." Thank you, Lester. On June 5th, we have Lynn Roth. June 6th, Vaughn Vance. June 8th, Lynette Fons. June 9th, Alan Arnson. June 10th, Herman Bauman. June 10th, Valerie Rank. June 10th, Yeet Uktum. And June 11th, Carl Gutenecht. So thanks to all for their contributions to the Madison Rotary Foundation. And now Dick Lovell is going to come up and sing a special rendition of Happy Birthday.
Well, it's actually one you've sung before, and so it's the Stevie Wonder version of Happy Birthday. You've done it. So in case you're not familiar, I'm going to try to sing it through once. And some of you who are really singers, sing along with me the first time. Then we'll sing it all through together. So happy birthday to everyone. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday, Rotarians. Now I'm going to get it right, and you're going to help me. Ready? Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday, Rotarians. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. You always bring great enthusiasm to our music. And thanks, everyone, for participating. Happy birthday to you. And we also have members in the news now. Quite a long list, because of our Rotarians are out in the community doing a lot on a daily basis. So Rhonda Adams was quoted in an article titled "Redirecting Resources to Partners in Need on the North Side." Jessica Cavazos was pictured and quoted in an article titled "The Gateway to Employability Latino Chamber to Open $5 Million Training Center in Fitchburg." And congratulations to Melissa Fellows, who's been promoted to Senior Vice President, Managing Director of Treasury Management at First Business Bank. John Hayes was quoted in an article titled "Snippets from Survivors, State Street Businesses from the 100 to the 500 Blocks Reflect on the Past Few Years." Melinda Heinrichs was interviewed in a story about Milwaukee Bucks NBA star Wes Matthews partnering with Madison Schools to get students active, and Jason Ilstrup, pictured in Business Magazine's feature story, The State Street, Great State, and Vacant Storefronts on Madison's Famous Street. Linda Ketchum was a cover story in the Cap Times last week, a look inside Wisconsin's first medical recuperative shelter for homeless families, Healing House in Madison. And Ron Luskin was pictured and quoted in Business Magazine's column, Icebreakers, what's one thing you can do to show your clients you value them? So congratulations all. Now we're ready for today's program, and she was already up at the podium and wearing one hat. Now our very own Secretary Dawn Crim is today's speaker. And Dawn was appointed by Governor Evers in 2019 as the Secretary of the Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Services. Prior to this position, she was the Assistant State Superintendent for Student and School Success at the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. She also spent more than 25 years in higher education, most recently as Associate Dean for External Relations in the UW-Madison School of Education. She's going to share an overview of the Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Service operations and how they execute modernization efforts. She will also discuss equitable resources provided statewide, which are aiding recovery and building a stronger Wisconsin. We look forward to your presentation, Dawn, and we've made a contribution to the Rotary International Polio Plus Fund as a way to say thank you for speaking to us today. I also want to mention that we will have Q&A with our speaker at the end if time allows, but please wait for the microphone. We'll come to you if you have a question. And let's welcome Secretary Dawn Crim to our podium.
Wow. I just want to say how great it feels to be here today at our club as the speaker. Through my work as secretary, I actually visit clubs all around the state. So this is my 14th talk today, but my first one at my own club. So I'm excited about that. So I do have two guests with me. They were introduced when we had our guest stand, but my division administrator, Angela Banks for Management Services is here, and my administrator for Industry Services, Brandon Piper, is here with me as well. So last month, Randy Romansky from DATCAP spoke, and he spoke about diversity and the importance of Wisconsin agricultural and impact on state economy. Today, I am excited to bring you an update about what's happening at the Department of Safety and Professional Services, which is contributing to a better state of Wisconsin. Before I do that, I want to thank Pat Jenkins and Regina Milner for the information they provided today in preparation for my talk. So I'm going to give you an overview first about what our department does. And a lot of people are surprised by the breadth of the work that we do, as was I, because it's been an adventure for the past 3.5 years. Our agency covers a wide terrain and engages with multiple business sectors, industries, including healthcare, construction, and education. We touch 1 in 3 Wisconsinites. 1 in 3. Show of hands, people who have a license or who have engaged with our department over the years. Okay. So who are we? The Department of Safety and Professional Services is a state agency that's a little over a decade old. We were born in 2011 from a merger between the Department of Commerce and the Department of Regulation and Licensing. In that merger, we kept most of the occupational licensing and the construction industry permitting and regulations work. The remaining work, the economic development arm of the Department of Commerce, was separated out, and it became the Wisconsin Economic Development Corp. One of the interesting things about the merger is that the services of the two agencies were brought under one roof, but the systems that run within both agencies remained separate. So I quickly learned we have multiple databases and a lot of manual processes that we brought in-house. So over the past 2 years, we've been going through the difficult process of marrying all of those services as well as automating those services, because we realized the legacy systems that were in place was not meeting our own demands nor our customers' demands. So that's how we came to be. Now, what exactly do we do? So here is a 2022 DSPS at a glance. We handle, as I mentioned, most of our occupational credentialing in Wisconsin. We license physicians, nurses, dentists, barbers, funeral directors, real estate agents, a wide range. But the bottom line is 240 occupations, all based in and focused on safety. We also support related occupational boards that set the educational and ethical standards for their professions. I have some really exciting news as I talked about legacy systems. Our occupational licensing program is being automated. Just 3 weeks ago, we unveiled our new self-guided online licensing application platform, Licensee. And what I can tell you about that is already it has shaved time off of our licensing activities. We believe that system is going to provide what our customers are looking for by way of occupational licensing. A moment ago, I mentioned the construction industry. We are a critical part of the residential and commercial construction work. We review plans, we conduct inspections to ensure that all the buildings you visit or live in are safe. And that work is based on code. One of our big projects last year was updating the commercial building and plumbing codes. That work is good for the industry, and it makes it easier for innovative materials to actually be put into practice. It also brings into play the most current safety standards so that, again, you are safe when you're visiting buildings. What's exciting about that code update is we have a specific project that we're working on. How many people, by show of hands, have heard of the new building in Milwaukee called the Ascent? All right. So those of you who are not aware of that building, it is a mass timber building that is the tallest mass timber building in the world. Right here in the state of Wisconsin, tallest mass timber in the world. But the interesting thing about that building being built with mass timber is our current code does not have the standards in place around what's needed for that building. So they had to individually work with the fire department and the city of Milwaukee on those standards. Going forward with our commercial code updates, we'll be creating a guideline so that people can continue building with mass timber without having to do the individual work. And so we've been able to update that code around mass timber, working closely with the University of Milwaukee around sustainability issues and the USDA Forest Products Lab on their testing of mass timber. We believe by bringing those guidelines into play, our paper industry can also innovate and do more work by opening up forest products industry throughout the state. We also run the Educational Approval Program, and that program regulates for-profit educational institutions to ensure that students get what they pay for when they take online courses or for-profit courses around the country. We also administer the 2% fire dues for the fire service. That money is collected by insurance companies so that fire departments have the equipment, training, and practice that they need. We oversee the health and safety code of fire departments, that is SPS 330, and we do that to ensure that as they keep us safe, our agency keeps them safe. So I have to say our work with the fire service has been extremely rewarding. When I've visited many of the departments around the state, they've talked about training, but most importantly, they've talked about challenges that they're having around recruitment and retention. So some of the work that I've been able to do in leading the agency around that, because I come out of the educational background, I was able in my budget to get a grant for $50,000 to work with recruitment and retention issues with fire departments around the state. That work is in collaboration with the technical colleges and high schools, introducing juniors and seniors to the fire service so that they could actually take that first level course. And so I'm proud to say that we have delivered 3 grants over the last month to fire departments in Encanto, Winneconne, and Onalaska. The other thing that I'm excited about doing in this work around education and grants is we realize the military, people that work in the military have a lot of skills, but a lot of times when they're transitioning out, they have to go back to school, be retrained on new skill to take occupational positions. We actually have a military veterans grant that we are also running to help in collaboration with technical colleges so that the education and coursework and expertise that they've gained in the military can quickly be retooled and actually present for occupational licenses that are already in place. So I'm excited about that, and we're doing that work in partnership with the Milwaukee Area Technical College. But our agency does even more. We also administer the Wisconsin Prescription Drug Monitoring Program. The PDMP is a critical part of the state's response to the ongoing opioid epidemic. I'm sure many of you heard in the news about the opioid crisis, and unfortunately during the pandemic, it has gotten worse. But we continue, along with our partners in DHS, to do what we can to combat the opioid crisis. Our part for running the PDMP is a database that actually puts the patient's pain medication information at the prescriber's fingertips in real time. That helps to ensure that we have good prescribing practice, and if people are able to get their prescription here filled and then go elsewhere, that pharmacist or pharmacy tech is able to see what was prescribed. And I share that to say we do realize pain is real and people do need access, but oftentimes our records have shown that the prescribing practice has been more than people need. So we're trying to do our part to help with misuse of that medication. The PDMP also aggregates all of the prescribing data and makes it available to the general public as well. So you're able to actually go on our website and see visualizations of prescribing that occurs in your county. And so we think having that visual picture helps people understand the amount of opioid that is in the communities, county by county, and the work that we're doing to reduce that work. But I'll circle back to the PDMP a little bit later. But before I do, I want to talk a little bit about what's happening in the administration overall. For several months now, the state of Wisconsin has had a historically low unemployment rate. More of us are participating in the workforce than ever before, and that's good news. Also, many of you may have noticed a change in your paycheck. The governor cut income taxes by 15% when he signed 2021 Wisconsin Act 1, which provided $480 million in tax relief for Wisconsin businesses and families affected by the pandemic. Early reports from the Department of Revenue are that the average state tax returns are up from $600 to nearly $1,000 this past year. So he is proud of putting money back into our pockets. A recent analysis of pandemic recovery allocations showed that Governor Evers' efforts are working. According to that analysis, Wisconsin ranks second in the country for aid directed to economic development and first in the country for aid to businesses. So I'm proud of that because it shows that we are trying to recover quickly and fully from the pandemic, but we do know we still have work to do. Some of that effort is actually happening right here in Dane County. Last month, Governor Evers announced that the Wisconsin Economic Development Corp would be partnering with Arrowhead Pharmaceuticals, a leading genetic medicine company, to support $220 million in expansion in Verona. That will create more than 230 high-paying jobs. He also announced that he would be investing an additional $25 million in the popular and successful Main Street Bounce Back Grant Program. You saw two of our members were listed in the news talking about state storefronts. That's the $25 million that's helping that program. That program has already helped more than 4,200 small businesses and nonprofits in all 72 counties. That brings the total investment to that program at $75 million. All told, Governor Evers has allocated more than $4.5 billion in COVID relief funding to individuals and businesses across Wisconsin, including more than $231 million capital investment focused on projects to help communities deliver innovative public services, including new and improved facilities, the Neighborhood Investment Fund. That program is bringing $20 million to Madison and Dane County. The city of Madison will use $2 million of those dollars to help support the Bayview Redevelopment Project, which provides affordable housing options to an additional 200 low-income residents and more than double the number of people served by the neighborhood center. And will use $4 million to help construct the public market so that we can connect with vendors and consumers. Dane County will receive more than $14 million for business development and support for entrepreneurs through the Urban League of Greater Madison's Black Business Hub, expanding economic, social, and cultural opportunities in the community through the Center for Black Excellence and Culture, and expanding workforce training and programming with a new building for Central Hispania. And then we saw also in the news Jessica Cazavos in the $5 million that she received for the facility in Fitchburg. So millions of dollars are coming to Dane County through a variety of programs. And that includes $31 million in We're All In small business grants and almost $25 million in Wisconsin Tomorrow grants, all focused on small business recovery from the pandemic. Other programs brought to our community that actually focuses on area farms, restaurants, and hotels, and schools. So for example, $8 million will be distributed throughout Dane County as part of the Beyond the Classroom grants for out-of-school organizations to improve capacity, learning opportunities, and mental health support for school-age children. Last month, Governor Evers also released the Wisconsin first ever clean energy plan. Kind of wish the hands were here today so they could stand up and be excited. But you did see them on the screen because they are all about clean energy and sustainability. But that plan identifies pathways and strategies to lower energy bills for us, for families in Wisconsin. That plan has recommendations for promoting energy independence by reducing reliance on state energy sources. And we think with that plan, over 40,000 jobs will be created by 2023. And so I'm excited about that plan because I talked a little bit about what my agency does. Our agency has a role with that plan. We have created and opened up applications for the Wisconsin Advisory Council on building sustainability. The council will identify opportunities to integrate energy priorities into our existing building codes and will make recommendations for current codes and current code councils. So if anyone is interested in clean energy work and building sustainability, I invite you to go to our website and fill out an application and join us in that work. The governor also wants to make sure that we all bounce back from the pandemic and land in a better place. But he wants to do it in a more equitable way than what we saw prior to the pandemic. And so for the last year, I've actually been the chair of the Governor's Equity and Inclusion Advisory Council. And what we've been doing as a part of that council is examining the practices and policies in state government around hiring and about business supplier chains and just how we can do a better job as the state. Because remember, the state of Wisconsin is the largest employer of Wisconsinites. And so that work should be done in an equitable way. And so I'm proud to be a part of the team and chairing and leading that work. So in preparing for my talk today, as you know, I'm a Rotarian. I have been a Rotarian for the past 15 years and currently serve as the president of the foundation. And so when I think about the work that I do at my agency, I'm thinking about the four-way test. I appreciated Lester's remarks today for his birthday gift, in which he talked about the four-way test being the lens in which we should be thinking about the information we receive and how we live our lives and how we do our work. So when you think about the four-way test, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? So when I think about the work I do at the agency and the four-way test, I'd like to evaluate some of the recent news that we have around our PD&P program. And so I told you I'd come back to that, so I want to do that. For 2 years in a row, our PD&P has received a prestigious U.S. Department of Justice grant to enhance and expand access to that work. The first year, we received $1.9 million, and then the next year, we received $1.7 million. So what do you do with $3.6 million and this program? We invest it. We make sure that we use it to enhance the tool and to do better work and make it more accessible for people to use it. So as I think about the value of the four-way test, when I think about the PD&P, one, is it the truth? It is true that the opioid epidemic is a problem. We know addiction derails and destroys lives. Not only the people with addiction, but the families and communities in which they live. So we also know there is a hard cost to the problem. The United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has quantified just how much the opioid epidemic costs us all. According to their most recent data, the U.S. economic cost of opioid use disorder is $471 billion. Fatal opioid overdose adds another $550 billion to that. So together, the cost and the impact is more than $1 trillion in a single year. And those numbers are before the pandemic. Is it fair to all concerned? When I talk about fairness, I talk about our approach. And my answer is yes. The CDC further broke down their data and calculated the per capita cost in each state based on the prevalence of opioid use disorder and death among the population. In Wisconsin, the per capita cost is $3,219. These calculations take into account the economic impact on our healthcare industry, the criminal justice system, the need for substance abuse treatment, lost productivity, and our reduced quality of life. So whether we or someone we know struggles with addiction or not, we all stand to benefit from a society with less opioid use disorder and fewer opioid deaths. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? As I consider this question, I look at the way that we approach our work around the PDMP. Are we divisive or are we inclusive? I would say we are inclusive because we listen to our partners and our stakeholders and the families affected, and we take into account that input that they share. Because we believe our approach, the collaborative approach, is the key to its effectiveness, and that's been the success of the grants that we've been able to acquire. We work closely with the Wisconsin Controlled Substances Board and our technology vendor and the PDMP users to make sure that the PDMP is easier to use with each iteration. Will it be beneficial to all concerned? The PDMP has transformed prescribing culture in Wisconsin. A decade ago, we heard about doctor shopping. People that live on the border, living maybe in Illinois, coming across to Beloit. People that live over near La Crosse, going over to Minnesota to fill prescriptions. We don't hear many stories about that anymore. We also heard about the difficulty with the connection and putting the information into the tool when electronic records came to be. That was an important integrated upgrade that we made from a technology standpoint so that anybody utilizing the electronic records have at their fingertips the information about prescribing and about use. So overall, the opioid prescribing has been on a downward trend. In 2015, more than 5 million opioid prescriptions were filled in Wisconsin. In 2020, that number is just down to 3 million. So that is a 40% decrease in prescribing. So when I go through the four-way test, I feel good about our approach and the progress that we're making, but we know we need to do more. But we appreciate that it is making a difference for the people in Wisconsin. But of course, we're only one small part of the multifaceted effect to address the opioid epidemic. The Department of Health Services also offers extensive programming and services for individuals, communities, and healthcare providers. Recently, DHS announced that Wisconsin expects to receive $400 million from settlements with opioid manufacturers. 70% of that will go directly to communities. 30% will go to DHS for their statewide efforts to bolster the treatment and address factors that contribute to addiction. And DHS is not making their decisions in a vacuum. Earlier this year, they held 12 public listening sessions to determine how best to allocate those resources. More than 500 people attended, and nearly 900 comments were recorded with suggestions. So that feedback will continue to inform policies and decisions around settlement allocations, as well as inform our ongoing efforts to address the opioid pandemic. And so with that, I'd like to thank you for hearing more about the agency and what's happening statewide regarding the opioid addiction impacts, as well as the recovery since the pandemic and what else we can do. So I'll open it up for questions.
Hi, I'm over on your left here, my right. My name is Jeremiah. A question about the opioid stuff. Do you know the percentages of abused opioids that originate as prescriptions or are stolen from hospitals or are imported from other countries or are created in a lab, and how that's changed over time?
That is an excellent question. I do not have the quantifiable numbers for that, but when we look at how we are trying to combat the problem, our work with the Controlled Substances Board actually lists the specifics about what we're looking for, and then the partnerships with law enforcement and hospitals, they actually keep that information, and they're able to help us address the problem with the numbers that they have from that standpoint.
Dawn, following up on that, does the PDMP do anything to track how many prescriptions individual doctors are writing and do something to report to their licensing agency?
Yes, we do. The PDMP does track that because it has the origin, so it lists exactly how much has been prescribed and how often. And so when you talk about the Controlled Substances Board, that board is actually a part of my agency. And we also have a division, our legal division, that actually works with the prescribers and with the board to talk about adjudication and other ways to address the issues. But yes, we do know.
Hi, Dawn. Lynn Sexton here. The decline in prescriptions is incredibly impressive, and I've watched nervously from afar to make sure that all of those great efforts don't begin to impact hospice's ability to access those very much needed opioids. What advice do you have on a go-forward basis to make sure that, what advice do you have for someone like me to make sure that that continues to be the case in our state?
Thank you, and thank you for talking about the impact on hospice, because we realize, again, as I talked about, there is a role for pain medication. What we each can do is when we go to the dentist and we have a procedure done and we're giving 10 pain medications, only use what you need. And if you are someone that knows Tylenol does the job, then refuse it. Because what has happened is, over time, when you think about, I forget the name of the chart, but it's describe your level of pain, and it's 0 to 10. Because we have a strong drug in the opioid drugs, the belief when it first came out was that after a procedure, you should have no pain. But we all know that's not the case. And so what we can do is really determine our pain level and what the appropriate amount of prescription should be. Again, if Tylenol is good, use Tylenol. We often know that when they prescribe 10, even if you need it, it's usually 2 or 3. So what happens with the 7 that remains? That's when we need you to actually take that to the drug take-back area or the pharmacist so that it goes directly back and is properly disposed of. Please do not leave it in your medicine cabinet. Don't just put it in your big green trash bag, because that's part of the ways some of the additional pills that aren't needed are distributed. We've all heard stories about them moving around in high schools and other places. It's access. So what you don't need, please properly dispose. Thank you. No, don't flush it down the toilet either.
Dawn, I was wondering if you could comment on the controversy surrounding the building on Wilson Street and how the state and the city may be working to protect the people in that building where Pisons is located. And are there other challenges that we face in other parts of the state where there may be building safety that's of concern, and we certainly don't want a collapse of a building like happened in Florida?
Well, I will share with you, and Ron, thank you for that question. When that building collapsed in Florida, the first thing I did is I called Brandon. I said, we know our responsibilities. Do we have our standards in place? Are our inspections in place? Are there people that we have talked to, but there's been no action? We need action. So that's the first line, is ensuring that we are doing the work that we say we're going to do. As you can imagine, I am an agency of 270, and half of which is industry services. We can't be everywhere all the time. So I do have delegated agents in every municipality that works with industry services. So for example, the City of Madison is our partner for building safety in Dane County. So the City of Madison is who is working directly with the owners and occupants of that building. But that is of grave concern. As you know, I am the Department of Safety and Professional Services. So safety is what we lead with. And so that has been top of mind. When it comes to ride safety, we do that work as well. And so it's about having proper protocols in place and audits in place and our delegated partners to do their work. And I am pleased to say that the City of Madison is on it and working closely with them. And we've been in communication with them.
Hi, Dawn. Thank you for those statistics on the opioid crisis. I was wondering if you know or could comment on the effects that the crisis have had on our incoming youth. So effects on the foster system, effects on the school system here in the state of Wisconsin.
And actually, Kelly, that's a great question. The work that we do in our agency doesn't drill all the way down to that level. That is a lot of the liaison work that the Department of Health Services does in partnership with the Department of Children and Families and with the school districts. So I don't have that data for you. All right. I thank you.
Thank you, Don, for that very good and enlightening presentation. Thanks for being here today. Thank you all for coming to lunch and joining us. We are adjourned.